The relationship between mainland China and Taiwan is deeply rooted in history, marked by both periods of unity and decades of separation. The seeds of the current conflict were sown during the Chinese Civil War, a protracted struggle between the ruling nationalist government and the rising communist forces. This tumultuous period culminated in 1949 with the communist victory and the establishment of the People's Republic of China. The defeated nationalists fled to the island of Taiwan, where they established the Republic of China and claimed to be the legitimate government of all of China. For decades, both sides adhered to a policy of one China, albeit with vastly different interpretations. This concept acknowledged the existence of only one sovereign Chinese nation, but each government claimed to be its sole representative. The 1992 Consensus, a non-binding agreement reached between representatives of both sides, attempted to bridge this divide. It affirmed the one China principle but allowed each side to maintain its own interpretation. However, this ambiguity has proven to be a double-edged sword, offering a temporary truce but failing to resolve the fundamental disagreement at the heart of the matter. The legacy of the Chinese Civil War continues to cast a long shadow over cross-strait relations. Mainland China views Taiwan as a renegade province that must eventually be reunited with the mainland, by force if necessary. Taiwan, on the other hand, has evolved into a vibrant democracy with a distinct identity, and its people are increasingly resistant to any form of unification that would compromise their autonomy and way of life. This fundamental divergence in perspectives lies at the heart of the current tensions. At the core of the China-Taiwan conflict lies a fundamental disagreement over sovereignty and identity. Mainland China, under the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party, views Taiwan as an inseparable part of its territory. This claim is rooted in both historical narratives and the CCP's own ideology, which emphasizes national unity and territorial integrity as paramount goals. Beijing maintains that the unfinished business of the Chinese Civil War must be resolved, and that Taiwan's eventual reunification with the mainland is both inevitable and non-negotiable. Taiwan's perspective stands in stark contrast to that of mainland China. Since transitioning to democracy in the late 20th century, Taiwan has undergone a profound transformation. Once ruled under martial law by the descendants of the nationalist government, Taiwan has embraced democratic values, free elections, and a robust civil society. This democratic evolution has also been accompanied by a growing sense of Taiwanese identity, distinct from that of mainland China. Public opinion polls consistently show that a majority of Taiwan's residents identify as Taiwanese, not Chinese, and support maintaining the status quo of de facto independence. This divergence in identity is further compounded by differing political systems and economic models. Taiwan's democratic system, with its emphasis on individual freedoms and human rights, stands in stark contrast to China's authoritarian model. Economically, Taiwan has developed into a high-tech powerhouse, known for its semiconductor industry and global trade links. This economic success has further fueled a sense of self-reliance and a desire to maintain its distinct position on the world stage. China's efforts to use economic leverage to pressure Taiwan into political concessions have only served to solidify Taiwan's determination to resist such coercion. Taiwan's current president, Lai Ching-te of the Democratic Progressive Party, faces the daunting task of navigating this complex geopolitical landscape. Lai, who assumed office in 2024, has taken a firm stance on Taiwan's sovereignty, rejecting Beijing's one country, two systems framework. This framework, initially proposed by China as a model for reunification with Hong Kong, has been firmly rejected by Taiwan, particularly in light of the erosion of freedoms and autonomy witnessed in Hong Kong in recent years. Despite the increasingly assertive posture from Beijing, Lai has expressed a willingness to engage in dialogue with China. However, he insists that such dialogue must be conducted on the basis of equality and respect, without preconditions that undermine Taiwan's sovereignty. This approach reflects the delicate balancing act that Taiwan must perform, seeking to maintain peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait while also safeguarding its hard-won democracy and autonomy. In addition to navigating the diplomatic front, Lai has also prioritized strengthening Taiwan's defenses and diversifying its economic partnerships. Recognizing the growing military imbalance across the Taiwan Strait, Taiwan has been actively bolstering its defense capabilities, seeking to acquire advanced weaponry and enhance its asymmetric warfare strategies. Moreover, Lai's administration has been actively seeking to reduce Taiwan's economic dependence on mainland China. Efforts are underway to diversify trade partners, attract foreign investment, and foster innovation in key sectors, such as artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and renewable energy. In recent years, China has adopted an increasingly assertive posture towards Taiwan, escalating military activities in the Taiwan Strait, and intensifying diplomatic pressure on the island nation. This assertive stance is driven by a confluence of factors, including the CCP's ideological commitment to national unification, China's growing economic and military might, and a perceived shift in the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific region. China's military modernization program has been particularly striking, with significant investments in advanced weaponry, naval capabilities, and cyber warfare capabilities. The People's Liberation Army has rapidly expanded its naval presence in the region, conducting frequent military exercises and patrols near Taiwan's territorial waters. These actions are intended to serve as a constant reminder of China's military superiority and its resolve to deter Taiwan from pursuing any moves towards formal independence. Beyond military exercises, China has also engaged in what is known as gray zone tactics, deploying paramilitary forces and fishing vessels to harass Taiwan and test its defenses. These actions are designed to intimidate Taiwan, probe its responses, and wear down its defenses without triggering a full-blown military conflict. China's 2025 defense budget saw a substantial increase, further signaling its commitment to building a military capable of achieving its objectives in the Taiwan Strait. Section 5. The United States walking a tightrope between policy and principle. The United States plays a pivotal role in the China-Taiwan equation, navigating a complex and often contradictory set of policies and commitments. The cornerstone of U.S. policy towards China is the One China policy, which acknowledges the Chinese position that there is only one sovereign Chinese nation. However, the U.S. interpretation of One China differs significantly from Beijing's. The U.S. also operates under the Taiwan Relations Act of 1979, which commits the U.S. to providing Taiwan with the means to defend itself. This act, passed by Congress after the U.S. switched diplomatic recognition from Taipei to Beijing, has been a source of enduring tension in U.S.-China relations. While the Taiwan Relations Act does not explicitly obligate the U.S. to intervene militarily in the event of a Chinese attack on Taiwan, it does require the U.S. to maintain the capacity to do so, and to consider any such attack a grave threat to U.S. interests. This policy of strategic ambiguity, leaving China guessing about whether and how the U.S. would respond to an attack on Taiwan, has been a cornerstone of U.S. policy for decades. However, in recent years, there have been growing calls from some quarters in Washington for the U.S. to abandon strategic ambiguity and adopt a policy of strategic clarity, making an explicit commitment to defend Taiwan. Proponents of this view argue that strategic clarity would deter China from attacking Taiwan and enhance stability in the region. However, critics contend that such a move would be seen as provocative by Beijing and could increase the risk of conflict. Section 6. A looming shadow: the growing military imbalance across the Taiwan Strait. One of the most concerning aspects of the China-Taiwan conflict is the growing military imbalance across the Taiwan Strait. China's rapid military modernization, coupled with its geographical proximity to Taiwan, has created a situation where China possesses a significant military advantage in any potential conflict. This imbalance has raised concerns among U.S. military planners and policymakers who worry that China may be tempted to use its growing military might to achieve its political objectives. While Taiwan has been actively bolstering its defenses, its military spending pales in comparison to that of mainland China. Moreover, China's military modernization has focused on developing capabilities that would be particularly effective in a conflict over Taiwan, such as ballistic missiles, amphibious assault ships, and cyber warfare capabilities. These developments have led some analysts to conclude that China may have a window of opportunity in the coming years to attempt a military takeover of Taiwan before the U.S. and its allies are able to effectively respond. The potential consequences of a military conflict over Taiwan would be catastrophic, not only for China and Taiwan, but for the entire region and the global economy. A conflict would likely draw in the United States, Japan, and other regional powers, leading to a wider conflagration with unpredictable consequences. The global economy, already grappling with supply chain disruptions and geopolitical uncertainty, would be severely impacted, as Taiwan is a major producer of semiconductors and other high-tech goods. Section 7. Economic interdependence: Taiwan's semiconductor dominance and the global tech race. The China-Taiwan conflict is not just a political and military standoff, it also has significant economic implications, particularly in the realm of technology. Taiwan is a global leader in the semiconductor industry, home to Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, the world's largest contract chip maker. TSMC's cutting-edge chips power everything from smartphones and laptops to cars and advanced weapon systems. This economic interdependence creates a complex web of relationships and dependencies. China, despite its efforts to develop its own domestic semiconductor industry, remains reliant on Taiwan for advanced chips. This reliance gives Taiwan a degree of leverage in its dealings with Beijing, as any disruption to Taiwan's semiconductor industry would have ripple effects throughout the global economy. Recognizing the strategic importance of its semiconductor industry, Taiwan has been actively seeking to diversify its economic partnerships and reduce its reliance on mainland China. The US and other countries have been courting Taiwan as a key partner in securing supply chains for critical technologies. Taiwan has also been investing heavily in research and development to maintain its technological edge in the face of growing competition from China and other nations. Section 8. Beyond the US-China binary. Europe and the search for a coherent China strategy. While the United States remains the most important external actor in the China-Taiwan conflict, other countries and regions are also grappling with the implications of China's rise and its assertive behavior in the Indo-Pacific. The European Union, or EU for example, has been seeking to develop a more coherent and unified approach to China, balancing its economic interests with its concerns about human rights, security, and the rule of law. The EU's relationship with China is complex and multifaceted, characterized by elements of cooperation, competition, and systemic rivalry. The EU is China's largest trading partner, and Chinese investment in Europe has increased significantly in recent years. However, the EU has also become increasingly critical of China's human rights record, its crackdown on dissent in Hong Kong, and its assertive behavior in the South China Sea. The EU's approach to Taiwan reflects this broader balancing act. The EU officially adheres to the One China policy, but it also maintains unofficial relations with Taiwan and supports Taiwan's democracy and its right to self-determination. The EU has called for a peaceful resolution of the Taiwan issue through dialogue and has expressed concern about China's military activities in the Taiwan Strait. Section 9. Charting a course through uncertain waters. The future of cross-strait relations. The future of cross-strait relations remains uncertain, shaped by a complex interplay of domestic, regional, and global factors. The potential for miscalculation and the risk of conflict remains significant, given the high stakes involved and the lack of trust between the parties. However, despite the challenges, there are glimmers of hope and opportunities for dialogue and cooperation. Both China and Taiwan have a shared interest in avoiding a conflict that would be devastating for both sides. Economic interdependence, particularly in the technology sector, creates incentives for cooperation and stability. Moreover, international pressure, particularly from the United States and its allies, could help to constrain China's actions and encourage a peaceful resolution. Ultimately, the future of cross-strait relations will depend on the choices made by leaders in Beijing, Taipei, Washington, and other capitals. Dialogue, diplomacy, and a commitment to peaceful resolution based on mutual respect and understanding will be essential to navigate the challenges ahead and chart a course towards a more stable and prosperous future for the region.